Hi, good day to you. A very good afternoon. This is Ivy Eyu from OrangeTee and Thai Learning and Development Department. Today, I'm so glad to share with you our second part, part 2, for consultative sales and purchase through financial calculation agent app. So for those who have attended my last session on part 1, I actually shared on using financial application, the calculator, for this resale HDB seller and buyer. Today, in our part 2 series, I'll be sharing with you how do we use the calculator for residential purchase and sale serving these private property clients. So let's go. Hi, a bit about myself. My name is Ivy Eyu. I've been practicing real estate since 1996. So for the past 20 years, I've been serving residential properties for clients doing buy, sell, and rent. So today I'll be sharing with you how to equip ourselves with our modern technology using OrangeTee agent app. So I'll be sharing with you also case studies where how do we serve private sellers and private buyers and giving them the possible solutions and advice for their sales and purchase. So let's go. First of all, I would like to introduce to you what is our objective for today's session. Hands-on practice for using our agent app, financial calculator, and the case studies for serving private seller and buyer. And how do we actually advise them for sell one and buy two asset progression? Let's start with case study number 1. Mr. Sunny wanted to sell his 3 bedrooms, more than 1,004 square feet at 8 Mount Sophia. So I have tracked the resale transactions. There are transactions for his 3-bedroom unit at about 2 million. And he also told me he bought this property on 1st of June 2017. And he has an outstanding bank mortgage loan of 1.25 million. And because he's the sole owner, he needs to return to his CPF money with accrual interest for the years that he'll be paying installment. It's about 580,000. So the common question being asked when we are serving private seller, what are the costs for selling his private property? And what is his estimated sales proceeds that he will be looking at? This is to plan in case after the sale of his property, he may want to buy the next property. So we'll now move on to our agent app, where I will show you how we're going to use our agent app to do this. Okay, here we are with our phone here. You log into your OrangeTee agent app, and over here at your dashboard, you will click on to this financial calculator here. And when you enter into the front page, you can see there is a tab buyer and seller. So for Mr. Sunny's case, I'll be serving seller, so I'll tap on the seller part. So in my last episode, I shared with you there is this column here called the sales receipt. So in this sales receipt, you can actually do for both types of owner whereby they own the HDB property or the private property. So today our case study is about private residential, right? So to customize this report, we will put in Mr. Sunny's name. And then I will type private residential. And over here, his proposed sales price is 2 million. Where I will key in. And remember, he told me his outstanding loan is 1.25 million. And he also checked for me that he has the CPF accrual interest to be refunded back after the sale at 580,000. Okay, this is something that you need to take note for seller, because he informed me that he bought this property in June 2017. So now we are in the year 2020. So I foresee that between 3 to 4th year, there could be a possible seller stamp duty. So inbuilt in our calculator here, you tap on the pink calculator, where we can actually see that with the input we put in, there is this portion here you can put in the date of purchase. So he told me he bought it in June the 1st. 2017. We select. So take for example, because selling a property may need some time. So now we are in the month of May. I will propose to maybe sell his house in June month. This is just an example. Say for example, I managed to find a buyer for him next month. Then you realize that over here in the seller stamp duty calculator, because it's within the 3 years time frame, he will have to pay a 4% seller stamp duty. So normally what do we do? If I see the date of the purchase and the number of months in this year, right, I will probably recommend him that we should take a little bit time to do the marketing. And then I propose to him, maybe we shall do like maybe in July the 1st. That means a 1 month difference. So you can see from the calculator, the moment I input 1st of July 2020, he actually fulfilled the minimum 3 years and 1 month, and he don't have to pay that additional buyer's seller stamp duty. So this is important as we are serving sellers. We need to qualify with them in terms of their purchase period. For HDB properties, you don't have to worry because they have a minimum of 5 years MOP. So they will not be within this seller stamp duty bracket. So as I propose to Mr. Sunny that we start the marketing of your property now, and probably we take a little bit of time, and it will be best that we can issue the option after this date in order to help him save that 80,000. So back to our calculator, just now where we have already input the details, right? Because he does not have any seller stamp duty. Okay, let me go back because I just exit out. Okay, so again, I mentioned we will sell it in July. So after you finish this portion here on the SSD, you tap on the green portion and go back to done. So for his case, I propose to sell in July month, so he don't have the seller stamp duty. Then next, I'll inform him there is a 2% stamp fee for selling. There's an agent fee for selling. So because we are in bank loan, so it's important for him to actually inform the bank. So most of the bank will require like 60 to 90 days to inform. So in this portion here, normally I will seek the advice of the banker. But normally, I will try to complete his sales around 12 weeks, which is 90 days. So in this instance, normally we do not input the penalties. So for legal fees wise for selling, right, it's about approximately 2,006 for a seller selling at a 2 mil. Okay. So basically, you can see from here that we have this estimated cash proceeds of 124,600 as input. So if you happen to have a seller who don't mind having a shorter completion date, then you will need to double check with his bank what are the prepayment penalties, because there is supposed to be interest in lieu if you were to redeem your loan earlier. So after we calculated for him the estimated cash receipt, we will then look at the OTP date. So remember just now I mentioned that we will try to issue an option on the 1st of July. We will select the date. And then the option expiry date is 14 days. And you are able to see from here, I will normally take about 12 weeks for completion. So I will choose 14 of October instead. This is just an estimated timeline, but it all depends on during the negotiation of the sales and purchase. So from here, you can see from the timeline, there are 3 dates: OTP date, OTP expiry date, and also the date of sales completion. Then you will generate a report over here to show your private property seller the details you have input, give him an estimated timeline, and of course, his estimated sales proceeds. So how do we look if we were to actually show it in our presentation slides? You can see that if we were to do this manually, based on Mr. Sunny's case, It will be 2 million for selling, outstanding loan, CPF refund including interest, estimated legal fees and the agent's fees we're going to charge him. That's the reason why if he were to sell it within the 3 years earlier on in the calculator shown, if I were to sell it like almost next month in June, then he will be within the 3 years period, he will get this thing called the seller stamp duty. So in order to advise our seller and to help him save on this, I will advise that we should probably find a buyer sometime in July this year. So this demonstration is to show you that in this agent calculator, we are able to even do the seller stamp duty on the spot to show our client. Okay. Next, we move on to case study number 2. Johnny and Jessica both are PR and they intend to buy a 2-bedrooms condo at Lakeshore for 990,000. So the monies they have in their CPF are 150K and 145K respectively. So assuming they are eligible for the LTV of 75%, common question being asked, what is their total buyer stamp duty as a PR? And what is the total amount of cash they need to prepare for the purchase of 990,000? So when we move on to our agent app, back here, after we last use it, we click done, and then we go back to our dashboard. Now we are serving the buyer. So over here, because they are PR buying a resale property, we will select the financial advisor tab, input their name, Johnny and Jessica. Because they are married couple, I will put their status as joint married. And immediately you can see from the calculator there's buyer 1 and 2. So over here, we can also select their citizenship, PR. Now this is a very important step because this will make a difference to the later on calculation on the stamp duty. So they are buying a private resale. So the purchase price is 990,000. I will assume we buy at value. And normally, I will leave it to the bankers to help them assess, but this is the initial calculation with regards to basic requirements on the fees. So I will not input the money fixed income first. So because this is their first purchase for resale, they do not have any outstanding loan. Then for the bank loan, I will put an estimated 1.6 interest. Okay. So assuming they are young couple and they can get a 30 years loan tenure and their LTV will be 75%. So over here, immediately the calculator will show you their loan amount based on purchase of 990K is 742,500. Their money mortgage is estimated to be about 2,388. Okay. So remember they told me they have the CPF of 150K and 145K. I will put there, input as 295. Okay, so the total CPF 295. So immediately the calculator do show you that they require a 5% cash down payment. Here is the part you need to take note on the buyer stamp duty. So we tap on the pink calculator, you'll be able to see that because we input them as PR, you can see there is a BSD and an ABSD calculator pop up. So the market value or the purchase price is already input in. They are joint married, PR, first property. That's why in this calculator, you are able to see that the total buyer stamp duty and the additional buyer stamp duty at 73,800. So tap on the green portion and then put done. Then the calculation is already there. So private property, we do not have any valuation fee, neither do we have any agent fee. We'll leave that blank. And you come up with this figure 123,300. This is the initial cash outlay that they need to prepare. And not forgetting there is a 20% down payment, 198,000. Estimated legal fees for such a purchase will be estimated about 2004. So therefore, we can see in this initial cash outlay, where they can use CPF for the 20%. In total, they will need to prepare about 20,400. So for OTP take for example, in June the 10th, I managed to find them a property. Okay, the expiry date is 24. This is an estimated date, so we can let them see the timeline. So sales completion, normally I will just put it 3 months later, unless during completion there could be a date earlier. So for the June month, then we shall complete sometime in September. So the moment you input the 3 dates, you can see from the timeline here, it will be in place. And at the bottom, we'll have more clearer picture with regards to the BSD and the ABSD. Next, you actually create and generate report where you can show your buyer and send them this report. And you're done. Okay. So as we are at case study number 2, if we were to do this on a manual basis, you'll be able to see the calculation as follow. And not forgetting the SPR with the additional buyer stamp duty at 5%. So this will be the manual calculation if you were to do it manually. Okay, let's move on to case study number 3, where I'll be sharing with you how do we actually help our clients, especially if they own HDB properties for many years and they intend to do probably a change of property, change of lifestyle. And after looking at their case, what are the steps and the advice that I give them? And from there, the financial calculation, how do I apply it using the agent app? So case study number 3, Mr. Richie family, husband, wife, Madam Rebecca, and they have a daughter, Rachel. So Mr. Richie is reaching the age of 55 soon. And he was thinking that since Rachel started work and the husband and wife decided that they would like to help their daughter own her first private property. Then, however, because they currently own a HDB flat, which is at Bishan, and I also take note that it's a mature estate and it's very spacious at 156 square meter. So to them, they were thinking they would like to downgrade or maybe a slightly smaller location, slightly smaller property, but a private property, so that it's easier for them to manage instead of a double-story executive mansionette. So they do tell me that they like a certain location, and then I give them an estimation on how their planning would be. So looking at their profile, then I do a calculation for them for the sale and purchase. However, before that, I will also looking at informing them what are the trends in the market. Especially as a salesperson, it's important that we must be aware with regards to the buyer stamp duty, ABSD, and even seller stamp duty. So for their case-wise, I will share with them this updated buyer stamp duty rates, because I just assume with the location that they tell me near to probably Serangoon and Kovan or Bishan area, most of the 3-bedrooms likely will cross over 1 million. So I do tell them that there is this changes since 2 years ago, that the stamp duty based on the purchase price. Next, I will also share with them since July 2018, the additional buyer stamp duty has some changes. So I will tell them that there should be a choice whether you want to keep your HDB or sell away your HDB. But if you choose to keep your HDB, then you want to proceed to buy another second property using the husband and wife's name, then you'll be subjected to all this ABSD. So they tell me that they do have some savings, but may not be sufficient for them to let the daughter buy a private property. So eventually, I do suggest to them that it's good to sell away the HDB because it's actually getting older, and because the HDB is actually 99 years lease. So perhaps they can look at to buy a freehold 3-bedrooms for own stay and another property brand new under the daughter's name for the potential of rental income. So after explaining to them these two portions, because I know transactions in HDB, especially in Bishan area and certain estates, that some of the HDB are quite sought after. So based on this online reports at Asia One, there has been a lot of HDBs on prime location and size. They can actually transact more than 1 million. So, and also I also updated them recently in March 2020. This ST report has mentioned that HDB resale prices actually has increased for the first few months of this year. But of course, now with the current status, we also have to update our clients how are the market rental, the market condition is. But then again, we always have to be positive and give a guide and advice to how our client can move forward. So I also share with them more in depth of this ST report, this news, that actually the most expensive resale flat last month, they are actually referring to the February month of 2020, that there were 5-room flats in Commonwealth which has sold for more than 1 million. And of course, being over here, they are of a different location. There are also transactions of Hougang, executive mentioned it, that is about 850 over 1,000, which is actually considered a high price in such a non-mature estate. So in this year, actually, there were also 5 HDB resale flats which has transacted for more than 1 million. So these are certain reports that we keep our clients update and to share with them potentially how much their property is worth. So after sharing these 2 news with them, they do agree with me, they would like to sell and buy a property. So what I'll do is I plan in this way, to sell away their HDB Bishan so that they can release 2 names. First name, the wife, I will suggest for them to buy a resale condo whereby it's for their own stay. And I would suggest to use their 26-year-old daughter's name, Rachel, to buy a new development. It can be a studio, 1-bedroom, or a 2-bedroom, depends on what is their preference. So if we were to move on to the financial calculations for the sale, this is the manual calculation. Let me show you now, using our agent app, how we can actually make this possible. Okay, so back to our agent app. Now we are serving HDB seller. We'll move on to the seller tab. And from the sales proceed calculator, I input their name inside. Okay, Richie family, HDB sale price. So their possible sale price I will look at is 1 million for selling their Bishan HDB. And then we move on here. They do not have any outstanding loan because it's already fully paid. So the CPF they told me that they have is for Ricky is 220,000, for Rebecca is 200. So I will input 420K is the refund. They do not have any seller stamp duty because they own this flat for more than 30 years. So my agent fee is 2% calculated as. So because they do not have any outstanding loan, of course, they do not have any penalties for their loan. So legal fees wise, because they are fully paid, I will advise them to use HDB legal, which is cheaper. So estimated about $600. Okay, they do not have any resale levy because they are going to buy private property. So no other APs. So you get to see over here is 558,000 is the potential sales proceed that they may get. If you were to do a manual calculation, it will look something like this. Okay. So after the refund for Mr. Richie at 220K and Madam Rebecca at 200, they will potentially get a cash proceeds of 558,000. Then we move on to the calculations on their purchase. So remember, I told you that I would like to bring them to see a resale HDB, right? So we go back here. Because I've already calculated their selling, now I'm actually going into the buying. So we will tap on the buyer tab. We move on to the financial advisor. And this time round, we buy the property in Rebecca's name. So it will be a single name. And she's citizen. So over here, we will change it to private resale. And the purchase price, I will estimate it for a 3-bedroom condo near their location. that they're looking at, like Kovan, Serangoon, or Ang Mo Kio, will be 1.2 million. So assuming the valuation price match, over here the bank interest rate I will put at 1.6. Loan tenure is about 30 and LTV 75. So based on this, of course, you need to do an IPA with the bankers also. But for a simple calculation over here, you get to see their LTV at 900K. Money installment is about 3,000 plus. So she does have a CPF that comes back, because I checked that she has an OA of 80K, and with the refund of her after the sale of the property, so I will input there as 280,000. So you can see from here that because it's a bank loan, there will be a 5% 60K down payment. For buyer stamp duty, we tap on the pin calculator. It will be 32,600. Tap on the green tab and put done. So the stamp duty will be highlighted there. And there is no valuation fee for private purchase, no agent fee. So this calculator actually show us the down payment for a 1.2 million purchase will be 240,000. And then we have an estimated legal fees about 2,008. So now you can see over here the initial outlay will be 242,800. Okay, now we go back to the slides. Okay, so for the purchase of the first property under Madam Rebecca's name, this will be the manual calculations. And do take note that there will be a 20% down payment using most of her CPF refunded from the Bishan flat and her existing OA account. Next, we move on to the daughter that we are going to use her name to buy this new condo from developer. So averagely, a new condo studio, 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom is estimated about 800K. So now we move on to our calculator. And over here, because she's buying a new underdeveloped this BUC project, right? So for the buyer, we will tap on the new home progressive payment calculator instead. So I will put Rachel name here. Potential price will be 800,000. So because we have input her status as SC, you can see from here she's under single name, the nationality, and her age is 26. So I will make an adjustment over here at the loan tenure to 30 years instead, and she will have an LTV of 75%. So interest rate for BUC is normally about 1.2, 1.3. I will just make the adjustment. So you can see from here, I just estimate that say she can buy the property sometime in July the 1st. Okay, so you can see from the financial calculator that there is this timeline that mention during when and where estimated if she were to purchase this private property from developer, when is the payment like? The 5% booking fee, SMP, exercise SMP, buyer stamp duty. So question here, for Rachel, because she's just started work, she may not have this down payment itself. In fact, she told me her CPF OA is about 30,000. So how do we actually help her to actually cover this? So because remember, the parents wanted to help her get her first private property, right? So that's why selling of their Bishan flat is very important. And from that, because the Bishan flat has left a substantial amount, that will be sufficient for them to pay for her this down payment. So we move on to our training slides where after I did the calculations for them based on purchase one, purchase to the initial cash outlay required and the down payment. Then I come to a conclusion. I show it to them that after selling their Bishan flat, they have 558,000, remember? Then, yet they can fulfill in this way to select a condo resale at this price, 1.2 million. So the CPF being used up will be this amount and the cash used up will be 92,000 to be taken from the 558,000. Then for Rachel, she will use up all her CPF to pay for her first property and the cash of 58,600 plus the down payment 160K also from part of the 558. Not forgetting the father, Mr. Richie. Why is there actually his name being left out? Actually, it's not. Because I noticed that he's at the age of 54 and I also need to help him to plan if he need to refund part of the money back to his OA. So then again, I will also need to check with him whether does he has the sufficient. If he has the sufficient, then likely I will recommend him to buy the next property for their family. But if he do not have, then likely he will have to keep some of his CPF for his RA account to be qualified. But yet, after the whole case itself, you will notice that the 558 sales proceeds they get from their Bishan is able to allow them to comfortably buy a 3-bedroom resale for own stay and also pay the down payment for the daughter's first private property. And yet, they still have a cash savings of 246,000. 246,800. So this is a very basic and very simple calculation we can do for our clients. Then using our agent app is very useful. So thank you again for watching today's sharing. And I hope there will be ideas for you on how you can serve your client more efficiently. And should you have any questions related to resale properties, you can email to learning@orangetee.com, attention it to me, and I'll be able to help you if I can. Thank you and enjoy your afternoon. Bye.